Yeah, thank you. How's the sound? Some people will be putting in like, another maybe 8-hour day here, and then yesterday, maybe 10-hour day. So you can chalk that up for a retreat. So people think, oh, I got to do retreat. Well, if you stay here all day and do everything, and then you're here yesterday doing everything that can go on your, retreat count. Because it really is, right? I don't know, retreat doesn't always mean you're going somewhere else. I know it sounds the Dharma, it's always the experts, somebody from 100 miles away, or or retreat somewhere, you go somewhere different. But actually, the main retreats are what we do on the weekend. Some people are here all day on Sunday. Some people will be all day yesterday and today. So that counts for a retreat. There are retreats of time. There's retreats of repetition, like so many mantras. And then there's the retreats of realization. So I'm sure some people had, some realizations yesterday, or maybe even have them today. So you can say that. So it's important to like examine our experience for insights and then stabilize the insights through our meditation, join them with our mind stream, and then realization means you make it real, and then you'll live the truth. So some people could have had some realizations yesterday and even today. So you could say, I went on a 2-day retreat and I had some realizations. But if you say that to somebody, particularly a traditional teacher like Jalpa Rinpoche, or particularly Geshe Tashi, then you want to be able to back it up, right? And if you say, okay, I had some realizations, and then Geshe Tashi was, who realizes what? Then if you just go me, then okay, don't start there. Okay, then he'll go, oh, Lama Jinpa, it's not teaching Dharma very correctly. This is okay. So we're gonna talking about Shambhala warrior. Isn't that the title? The Entering the Path group has been reading through the Shambhala Sacred Path of the Warrior collection of talks by Trungpa Rinpoche. I think they're enjoying it. That's what I hear. Is that true? Yeah, good. I want to focus on the journey aspect of, we could use that term, warriorship, drala, above conflict journey. Because they call these Sunday talks the Shambhala journey. The journey aspect's the most difficult. The path is the most difficult part to actually talk about. So when I ask people in Darshan, where are you in your journey? Is that better? A little louder now. It sounds different. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. A little, so where are you in your journey? People say, well, you mean what practices am I doing? And I go, yeah, it includes that, but that's a little bit more. I said, well, what realizations I've had or insights. And I go, yeah, that's it, but it's not quite that's part of the journey, of course. Can you hear okay, Peter? Might as well, you can sit up front. Oh, it's easier right there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just fill it in with good stuff. Okay. Uh, for the purposes of today, I'd like to define journey as the way we cover the whole territory from and add a little content, the whole territory of uh, our expansion to the absolute limit, and then our contraction to the absolute limit. The territory is this journey of expansion and contraction. And different vehicles, sometimes we would say arising and falling away, the Theravadan say. And in Mahayana, we might say that the appearance and the disappearance. But Tantra, we might use the terms expansion and contraction. So we like to tie things in with our energy rhythms in our body, right? Expanding and contracting. Sometimes in Darshan, I brought out my wooden labyrinth, the finger labyrinth that is modeled on the labyrinth in Chartres Cathedral in France. And I mention it here because the labyrinth covers the whole territory. Yeah. You don't go right from the outer arc to the center. You have to, but the whole territory is covered. And there's no dead ends. In a maze, which is like samsara, you don't cover the whole territory generally, and they're dead ends. Generally in a maze or jail or something, you want to get out as quickly as possible, right? But in a labyrinth, you want to enjoy the walk. Has anybody ever walked the labyrinth locally here? Yeah. Did you find yourself wanting to get to the center real quick? Good. There is a center. It's like the top of the mountain. It's the point of most expansive, right? But there's a limit. And then on the journey back, we come back to the edge again, and that's the point of contraction. Well, during the journey of expanding and contraction, we're going through territories, forests, and lakes, and rivers, and mountains, and wild animals, and towns. Then we're coming back again to our little Hobbitville here in Sacramento. It's like, I'm not a super big fan of, it's like Lord of the Rings, but there's a little hobbit place in England, I guess. They made a little hobbit, go in these round houses. Sacramento's a little bit like that. It's kind of ordinary, don't you think? Yeah. So along the way, we're meeting our thoughts and emotions. Usually in this style of practice, usually we're thinking, well, I have my thoughts and emotions and they're me. But when we're talking from Shambhala journey, it's kind of we're meeting our thoughts and emotions as places and as people and as animals. See, like that. They're a living part of the territory or the mandala. It's in the journey of Shambhala journey, it's different than the psychological personal journey that we're used to talking about in therapy or as ordinary normals. That's why so much of the journey, the Shambhala journey, is kind of mythological and a little bit archetypal, while at the same time it's very personal. So in the Shambhala journey aspect, the personal world is like our companion. It's not us. Us is, we could say us is our Buddha nature, our essential goodness, the true warrior. And the warrior has a personal companion. That's our personal story. In college English or otherwise, did anybody ever make it through Don Quixote? Sue, you read the whole Don Quixote in Spanish?
No.
Who else read Don Quixote? Yeah. Oh, so there was a kind of recent translation, maybe the last 10 years. The woman has translated other things. And it's really very funny, satire on, gentlemen and chivalry and stuff like that. But what's interesting is like the Sancho Panza character, right? The companion. We need that kind of companion actually. So in the Shambhala journey, we're not trying to get rid of the personal self. We're not in any case in any of the vehicles, but particularly in the Shambhala journey, the tantric journey is we're really welcoming our kind of bumbling companion along with us. I kind of like companion movies. Probably I'm not the only one, but like the old days, watching, Batman and Robin with Adam West, like, it's like we figured out like the real stories about what Batman and Robin are doing together. Yeah. Like trying to take silly, kind of, I was high camp, it's like that, in the movies too, you have that kind of main character, so to speak, and then the companion character, but then also what's interesting is they tend to flip sometimes. Like it's like reading a wonderful novel or something with an unreliable narrator. So that's a very sophisticated journey, Shambhala journey, where you're in with yourself, and it's like you're in a book or a movie, mostly books with unreliable narrators, with switching back and forth between the main character and kind of the companion character. Like maybe Sancho Panza was really, he kind of knew what was going on, right? Like Don Quixote was kind of clueless in a way like that. There are a lot of different examples. That's why sometimes literature and art, is a lot easier to get the idea of real journey, because the narrative makes sense because it has that kind of piece going on. I like to think of like Wuthering Heights as kind of a main character companion. Haven't seen the new movie. Has anybody actually read like Bronte late recently? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's funny going back and reading some classics with kind of modern thing. You know, it's interesting. When we're doing deep level Dharma practice, particularly chip practice, you know, our demons and death is our companion, right? And that switches back and forth too. But in any case, we, in this journey of expansion to complete fullness, where you can't expand anymore and you identify completely with everything, then when you reach the summit, there's nowhere else to go but down. So then you start contracting, contracting until you're just barely a dot. And Trungpa Rinpoche's second book, The Great Eastern Sun, it talks about the dot. So that's kind of a modern way of talking about the bija, or the delay, the seed syllable, or the point. Bring things down to just one point, where it's not even seeable. Somewhat like when you contract down to a complete little point, it's somewhat like geometry or something, which is kind of interesting metaphysically. That's the only math I really liked. And the teacher would say, just imagine a point in space. And then like, there's no point there, but just imagine a point in space. So that is the dot of complete contraction. And then when we've had complete contraction, like we've disappeared, then we reappear, right? So in the breath cycle, which one do you think is the point of expansion, and which one do you think is the point of contraction? Generally, yeah, breathing in can be expansion, and then breathing out. Generally, we're going to expand a little bit because we definitely are expanding, right? You know, and then out. But because we can switch the companion and, you know, the lead, then sometimes breathing in is the contraction. So we breathe in, everything to us and the world disappears, and then breathe everything out and the world appears too. So I'm trying to teach people that if I move this way, it's harder, right? This closer? No, it's fine. The lead and the companion can kind of switch places a little bit. And the narrator can be unreliable. So what keeps, you know, maybe in a good novel or something, what keeps, or story, what, even when you're switching back and forth, like who's really telling the story here? What keeps the narrative and the journey coherent? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's the narrative. That's basically the right answer. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah. So like, yay! All right. Damn. All right. Nailed it. Susan did it. Okay. Yeah, it's the combination of all the factors, you know, the expansion and contraction, mainly in the companion and the various territories you journey through, right? So you can't just kind of pull one thing out and say this is this is the journey. It's seeing the whole thing together, completely whole, which is sometimes how we translate Dzogchen, completion, the whole thing. And it's hard to see the whole. It's hard to see the whole thing because we tend to be able to abstract pieces out and then create a world around a separate piece. That's why Dharma is different and not difficult, because we tend to create duality and separate things out and then say this is the main cause and that's it. But actually it's all kind of doing its system thing, and it's very weird. So when Trungpa Rinpoche was doing an art seminar, it kind of made me look at painting a little differently from how Western art was taught. I only took one art course in college, so it's like medieval art and stuff like that. But so much it was around what are the symbols, what does the art mean? Instead, like when Anarapa doing Dharma art things, it was like, what's it like to see everything all at once? Because it's you push your eye has a focal point and it moves around, but Trungpa Rinpoche was emphasizing in tankas, and maybe in modern art, professional artists in the audience would know, like you're not able to find a fixed reference point. You have to take the whole thing in. That's kind of the idea. But there's still some order to it. It's not just a chaotic mess of paint drippings. Actually, I like that guy. What's his name? Yeah, but when you're looking at a tanka, sometimes if the Buddha Deva is looking straight at you, it's like they're always looking at you, So it frustrates our usual sense of reference point, so that the reference point has to broaden, so we have this sense of interdependent reference point, so to speak. So the basic kind of Shambhala journey would be a little abstract, just from this completely expansive space, like you're on the mountaintop and you're taking your pack off and it's like the view, to contraction. But contraction doesn't mean total disappearance in a nihilistic way. It means you're seeing this wonderful view, and then you stub your toe. Yeah, and then suddenly you're brought back somehow to like the particular, brought back to the dot, a little bit like that. Normal samsaric beings are going to struggle, right? Like the view is just ruined. Finally got to the top, and something went wrong. The peanut butter sandwich was squished. But the Shambhala vision that Trungpa Rinpoche was talking about, like appreciation the big view, and then like also totally appreciating like this squished sandwich. Yeah. All right, let's maybe just stop here for a second, and maybe that's enough for now. I don't know. But we could exercise our Buddha nature and speak up and speak from basic goodness. That's Shambhala way of, that was Trungpa Rinpoche's way of talking about Buddha nature or basic goodness.
We're going to pass this mic around. If you have questions.
You don't have another little handheld mic? Oh, okay.
Are we in existence always expanding or contracting? They're steady state to reach.
From this point of view, that is a steady state. Good question. Absolutely good.
When you were talking about someone having a realization and what they asked, who is it me? I would like to hear how you would answer if someone said, who had the realization, or what you described.
Good luck, Sue. Yeah, that. So at the Hinayana, maybe even Mahayana level, we'd like to have the right answer. But at Vajrayana level, definitely Shambhala journey level, that's somewhat become irrelevant. Yeah. At some point, it is important to have the right answer. Like, what's the right way to get to San Francisco driving? Take I-80. But once you're on I-80, you're not constantly checking, am I on the right road? We shall. Yes, we shall. Yay.
Ask a question, Lama?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sometimes when I contract and try to feel the experience of this drop or this little tigre, right? The tiny little significant, non-existing point. There's a feeling, I keep going in, looking, kind of like Dr. Rinpoche would say, looking for the troublemaker, right? Mm-hmm. And then at some point it gets so tiny that it kind of like pops and is like expansive again. And then sometimes if I'm expansive in meditation, then it has the exact opposite feeling where it kind of like expands until there's all of a sudden this feeling of like sense of self or presence or something like that. It's almost like a total or something, where it's it's like moving from center to out, but like they both kind of feel the same way.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Or like
it's a question, it's not a question mark.
Even in the beginning of our practice, we're working with that dynamic, and as we do more and more training and practice, the journey becomes more refined like that. So the expand, the points, so to speak, the polarities, sometimes I call them, and so either end, which is a metaphor, is it really isn't. That's not the main show. Those are kind of like they are kind of like turning points, but kind of the main show is like what's going on in the in-between. Like when you're halfway up the mountain, or you're halfway in the descent, kind of like what's where's you, where's your companion, where's the sense of interdependence at that point? Because we tend to want to go to peak experiences of getting to, so that this grasping, like I want to have the expansion experience, I want to have that contraction experience, but they're more like polarities or markers. It's really what's going on in the in-between. Good question.
Can I ask a question about something you said?
Doesn't seem to be working.
Is
Okay.
it closer like that? Okay, okay. May I ask a question about something you brought up earlier this morning?
Sure.
Okay, so you said in our tradition, dying takes effort. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, you'll know I'm right when you get there. Yeah, I just remember this conversation. Okay, so when we're talking about the right effort of like Eightfold Path, the no effort of the Prajna Paramita, the effort, practice diligently at the end. It's a different kind of effort than the how we're normally doing things. Yeah, because it's in the normal consciousness, I'm doing the effort. Where it was identified, this is effort for me. It's an identity issue, but your heart, for example, is not thinking this is taking effort. It might be acting out the effort, as we get older, it's harder, but still the heart's not thinking this is a lot of effort. But it's putting out effort, right? Using energy. Yeah, if when people really, really stop eating, it's the end, right? We're clear on that, right? If people stop eating and they haven't eaten for a couple of weeks, probably not going to be around, right? Yeah. You're not taking in any energy. It's okay to die with effort. So we don't want to set ourselves up like, I want to die effortlessly. That would be a setup, right? And then you'd be thinking, it's horrible. You'd be thinking, I've been practicing all my life to die, smoothly without effort. And damn it, I'm dying with effort. Don't do that to yourself. Well, that's a demand. That's more than an expectation. I got to die just right without effort, like hot knife through warm butter. And that's complete setup. Just be the right amount. It's always the right amount. And it's always Goldilocks. So just the right amount of effort. So we have to, right now, we get to experiment with that. Like, oh, that's too much effort. And that's not enough effort, That's why in Tantra we use the wisdom of our bodies, because we can tell with balance, with all our senses, like, that's a little bit too much pizza, right? We have to experiment in a safe way, like that. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So, but we can learn to experiment in a safe way. Where a lot of us growing up, we didn't particularly have any metrics, or we'd wreck something and then they'd say, don't do that again, but like, ahead of time, why don't you tell me the right way to do it and I won't wreck it, right? So we do train, we make some effort to train in death and dying. You know, getting in the Samaja Tantra, which Geshe wants to have Jana Rinpoche teach on next time. Please remind me, Patty. So I have to go see, not have to, I get to go see Jana Rinpoche again this week, for Losar, to say hi. So I always have to say thank you. And you always have to make a request. So I'm like, please come again and teach Guya Samaja Secret Assembly Tantra. So the Secret Assembly, that's where the Buddha goes into the 5 Buddha families and illusory body and all that really juicy stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, we get to kind of, you know, taste the purge, like too hot or too cold. And that's effort, right? You know, investigation takes some effort. You need energy. So in Vajrayana, like we do try to, we're talking about energy a lot. That's why people actually stay to do kirtan, kala chakra, and then we're going to do some contemplative dance. You'll be charged up, right? You'll have very good dreams tonight. Kirtan, huh? Yeah. So okay, you get a lot of extra energy. Then that's, we also need to learn how to work with that. Basically, when we have a lot of extra energy, then we have to well, we can do a whole bunch of things, but a safe Mahayana thing to do is, visualize a vast Buddha field with many beings, and then you're sharing energy with all the beings. So the energy isn't too contracted, right? So that's an example. Sometimes we generate a lot of energy, but our pipes are kind of small. So, they start vibrating too much, like our channels, I'm calling them pipes. So, then we have to expand the channel more. So that's why, people actually sign up for the Mahamudra Dzogchen retreat in April, correct? Then we'll go into, channels, winds, and drops. But usually we're not in our central channel, and then our central channel is too small, right? So the experience, of course, that we're working on is not to have a channel, you want to be a channel. But not the kind that channels. Who was the main channeler in the 70s? Like, come on. Seth. Yeah, thank you. The New Agers speak up. That's great. Yeah, Seth. Yeah. I don't know. That's, of course, Course of Miracles was channeled too, right? Are there any other woo-woo kind of Course of Miracles people here? No one wants to admit it. Okay, good. Yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah. Okay, we can stop and see if there's other complaints, questions. Oh, Jessica's. Oh, Doug has the microphone. All right.
After you just answer her. Can you hear me?
I can, but I don't think the mic's working.
Can you hear me now?
That's, yeah, something. What did we do? Did we
Sounds like-
flip a switch?
Uh,
Very unidirectional.
okay.
Yeah.
What I wanted to know, this is kind of irrelevant maybe, when you're talking about expansion and contraction, how does that relate to the idea of indulgent, of all thoughts are being liberated? Just go like this. Does that mean they're no longer being you're not contracted, not there anymore?
Like in Dzogchen, when we're like particularly Garb Dorji's 3 points, right, that I like to cover. So liberated doesn't mean they go away. That's important, and different meditations are different vehicles. You know, you might want certain things to go away, but liberate means doesn't need to go away. Like, you know, like, you know, Geshe Tashi and Rinpoche yesterday were like, does the thought of inherent existence need to go away? No. Why? You know, I don't need to banish the thought of the flat earth, right? You only need to banish it if you believe it. Right? So it's like that. Liberating thoughts means you know, we don't have to banish them, but they're liberated. You can believe in them if you want. Really, freedom is so hard. People really don't want freedom. We want to be told what to do, unfortunately. So yeah. Liberated thoughts means like you could believe it. Well, that's true. So they don't mean, and Dzogchen it doesn't mean going away.
So when you talk about expansion and contraction, and you also going up the mountain, that mountain is not. So originally, sometimes it's like there's this idea of go up the mountain and it's like the angels sing, and then it's done, and then you come back down the mountain, you're like, person, everything's different. And it's what you're describing is a constantly evolving state of awakening. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
We're getting a lot of realizations today. What does it mean that it's like ongoing? That's what Tantra means, is continuity. So we just enjoy, really, we just enjoy the process, which I like to think of Sisyphus like having the shit-eating grin. You know, like I get to go do it again. Like nothing would be worse than you push the rock up there and just stays there, and then like you're out of a job, you know? So yeah, you get to do it again. We love it. We love the rhythm. We just love it. And the we is the Buddha nature of self, you know, the personal self is kind of the companion. It just loves it. You know, doesn't get bored. The thing is the Buddha nature, real Dharmakaya, it doesn't have, it's just so totally free. You see, it doesn't have, it tastes like this, it does this, it has this, you know, just like hearts, it's completely free. Total freedom. But you know, we really are scared of total freedom. So it's hard to grasp, but the Buddha nature likes this process. It doesn't feel like it's doing it again. No, it's not keeping count. You know, it's not like I've done this 10 billion times and I'm kind of tired. It doesn't do that. Personal self would say, I've done this 10 million times. And the companion would be like Sancho Pancha, like, do we have to go after these windmills? You know, yeah. That's somewhere in the book, like, they're really tired. It's been a while, but they're really tired, and you know, can we just stay someplace? And then Don Quixote just spends, I mean, it's like 25 pages of insulting the host. Because you know, they're not doing it, you know, it's just really funny. They're not doing anything right. And Don Quixote's going, this place has no class, and You know, Sanchapasha is, you know, I just want to go to sleep and shut up, please. And, you know, you're going to get us kicked out. You know, it's really funny. Jessica had a question.
Okay, I was thinking about what it's like to see everything all at once. And I'm also playing with this expansion and contraction. I was thinking about breath and how if I'm focused on my lungs expanding, and I'm not paying attention to my diaphragm that's contracting. And so things that are happening at the same time, but where's your focus, like the expansion and the contraction. And I was also thinking about compression and tension. And like if I were expanding my arm to reach for something, contractions also happening if I want to point my finger muscles. And I'm guessing this is a gross level of concept, and maybe the refinement comes with more practice, but both things happening at the same time and where I can put my attention. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or am I in my own?
No, that's correct. Another realization. Yes. So they're happening at the same time. You know, for a while we have to alternate, but Buddhahood is you see both things at the same time. You see absolute and relative at the same time, expansion, contraction, same time, all at once. Yeah. But it's difficult. We tend to, you know, be Goldilocks, like flipping back and forth on the bed, you know, it's like that. But at the same time, yeah.
So Lama, I wanted to talk about my experience yesterday of contraction. It wasn't expansion, contraction. It was contraction and expansion. In that when I got here, and I hadn't been here in 2 weeks, and I got here and I felt, and I was also tired. I've been in the world of blues and jazz jam sessions, a lot of it, and and I just felt apart from, and I felt a little afraid, and I felt tired, and so I signed in, and I got to speak with Elizabeth on the line. I was on the line quite a bit. I enjoyed the shelter of having someone speak, but when I got into the dojo and listened to the teaching, I was even thinking like, oh my God, can I sit here for, you know, but I said, I mean, I paid attention and I got a lot out of it. When I came, then moved into this room, I really opened myself up in a different way, the empowerment. And where it brought me was maybe to a kind of a peak in the sense that it brought me to just stillness and openness and feeling peaceful in the moments, feeling a part of, and was and then it manifested in an interesting way. When I went to sleep, I decided to listen to first movement in Beethoven's Pathetique Symphony 8, Sonata Piano Sonata 8, and I just was able to track the whole the tension and the release and the beauty and the softness out. And then I realized I have this gift of attention, and I can actually choose to a level I can choose where I want to put it. That was very beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you.
To know that.
Yeah. Thank you. So the one that's doing the expansion and contraction, the one that's becoming like one with everything and then going all the way down to like being nothing, is the Buddha nature. So we're trapped in our language. We have to use the personal pronoun, right? You know, we're kind of trapped there. So we can go along with the process. You know, the process of personal self kind of emerges in the middle there. But you know, then kind of screws up by taking credit for it. Like, look how expansive I am. And then I love everybody, and then look how humble I am. Yeah. But the companion can be this kind of humorous and very useful fool or trickster, you see, that can kind of like, fool us and joke with us and criticize us a little bit. So the inner critic or judge or maybe even Grand Inquisitor can be transformed into this wonderful, like having your own jester with you constantly, like that. And that's a very nice place to be. Like you have your own personal court gesture. But the one doing the expansion and contraction is not the personal self. Very good. Yeah. I think Beethoven would agree. Beethoven would agree, hopefully.
I'm just trying to check my understanding to your knowledge. When you talk about the expansion and contraction, I'm visualizing myself meditating in an open space with a beautiful blue sky and birds and air blowing on me, the breeze blowing on me, and appreciating existence while a mosquito is feeding on me. Right? And there's the personal self that wants to knock them off, but there's that expansive, larger self that also recognizes this is part of it.
Yeah. It can take so many different forms, but there's this, we can call it an experience. It can happen on either side, like suddenly, like there's the blue sky, but no one's watching it. So in the Shambhala book, Trungpa Rinpoche mentions how, you're putting on your pants or something. I was a male putting on your pants, but it's space putting on its pants. See, you're decorating space. So it isn't like I'm putting on my pants. The companion isn't what I call taking credit for it. Like that. But it also like is joining the mosquito in the blue sky. So together. Yeah. Yeah, you could suddenly contract to like, the Buddha nature is doing it though. When we say, I doing this, we have to be aware that it's the companion self, the personal self that's going along with the process. Yeah.
Any more questions?
So in general, this is how I wanted to, when Trungpa Rinpoche is talking about the Shambhala warrior, bravery, but fundamental humbleness and gentleness and dignity, we tend to think, okay, we're talking about some qualities of the personal self that we're supposed to, kind of develop like Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. But really we're talking about the qualities of the Buddha nature, like the sun, it's this great Eastern sun. And then the companion's like the moon, it's reflective, right? But it's not taking credit for it. So in Tantra, we have the sun and the moon energy, which usually, like the sun, just okay, a little test. And in our Tantra, is the sun male or female? So the moon is, yeah. I know that screws with all us Wicca folks out there, but metaphors and archetypes actually change within Tantra. So when you're doing moon practice, you can also think that Tara's the moon, right? Because before she was Tara, she was the Princess Chandra, isn't that so? Okay. Maybe we did it. Did we do it? Oh, I was going to do one reading. Hold on. Trying to be textual here these days. And this is great. This is like falling apart. So Bantam book, you know. Normally, there appears to be a conflict between survival and celebration. Survival, taking care of your basic needs, is based on pragmatism, exertion, and often drudgery. Celebration, on the other hand, is often connected with extravagance and doing something beyond your means. The notion of ruling your world is that you can live in a dignified and disciplined way without frivolity and at the same time enjoy your life. You can combine survival and celebration. The kingdom that you're ruling is your own life. It is a householder's kingdom. Whether or not you have a husband or wife or children, still there's structure and pattern to your daily life. Many people feel that the regularity of life is a constant imposition. They would like to have a different life or a different menu every second at every meal. It is necessary to settle down somewhere and work on having a regular, disciplined life. The more discipline that occurs, however, the more joyous life can be. So the pattern of your life can be a joyous one, a celebration, rather than obligation alone. That is what it means to rule the kingdom of your life. Nice. Yay.